Hey guys, what's up? This is Stock Retail coming back to you. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I'm on a little family trip, so I'm just using some headphones today instead of a microphone. So if the volume is not so great today, just bear with me. I'm going to make this a very short video. I wanted to clarify something from my most recent video where I talked about AMC's cash flows for a minute. And I was laying down some receipts where I had said clear back in the fall of 2022 and during kind of then summer of last year how we were cash flow positive and that we would be kind of having good cash flows in Q2 and Q3 of last year. But what I realized something is as I kind of reflected on some of the responses to that video, I don't think I had made it clear that I was saying we were cash flow positive in those specific quarters. So I want to clarify that, but I want to talk about something really positive today too. Just my view of AMC is just this idea of something called the now and the not yet. And I want you to just think about that concept in coming days. And I'm preparing you for what I believe will be trolls, attacks against you. And if you followed me on Twitter for a while, you know that I like to say facts over FUD. So I'm going to give you some facts on really the rest of this year, on our results quarter by quarter. I'm going to share with you some very preliminary numbers. So don't take these as the types of numbers I would usually share. Usually I put in a lot of time and effort to get things right. So I'm going to call these preliminary forecasts just so that I can get ahead of a narrative. So they're shared with you a little faster than I might like to. So I suppose that's just a caveat. Like if I get these a little more incorrect than usual, they're directional. They're meant to just give you the idea of where we're going. I had shared from Gladiator the other day, so that's just the picture. Just this idea of, I'm somewhere now, but something good is coming. And that is how I view AMC. It's the now and the not yet. So I'm just going to dive into that. As I said, these are really preliminary numbers. Today's video is probably just 5 or 10 minutes just to make sure we have some clarity out there because I had talked about those positive cash flows. So what I was really saying is there were a lot of trolls telling you that AMC was burning cash last summer. And I was saying, no, we have positive cash flows. And then that turned out to be true. So if you were to have seen, like in Q3, we had positive free cash flow. In Q2 as well, we had like positive cash from operations. That's a number I show you every quarter from the filing that these guys put. So I want to just put that in a box and say, well, I was talking about those quarters. I'm not suggesting that right now, as of today, we have positive cash flows. But that is where I have also said on Twitter and here on YouTube that I see the wisdom of what Adam and team did with the dilution last fall because they saw this coming. They saw the strike impacts even before many of us did. They knew they needed to prepare for a bit of a winter. It's like a squirrel gathering nuts for the winter. And they did that. And so I'm seeing now we're all going to be enjoying the fruits of their labor and their wisdom. And I want to just talk you through that real quick. So I'm going to fly through the numbers again. Treat this as preliminary forecasts. These aren't like maybe up to the top level quality that I like to give you guys, but they'll be close. There's still plenty of effort that I've put into these just because now I've got kind of a running process. What you'll see here, top row, last year, these are the actual earnings by quarter from last year. So if you kind of skip to the far right, you can see we had almost minus 400 on the year, but you see those Q2 and Q3 results. That was where we started to get real positive, and then boom, Q4 dipped. Well, you remember I told you Q4 had Craven the Hunter, it had Ghostbusters, it had Dune. All of those had moved out of Q4. So imagine those were back in Q4, how well Q4, how much better Q4 would have looked. Also, I want to remind you that in Q4 you get some heavy non-cash charges. So that this is an earnings number. This does not mean a cash number. So the cash number in Q4 was actually far better. If you remember, we even had positive EBITDA, and we had a positive quarter in terms of EBIT. But then you get into, EBITDA, but then you get into some impairment charges, some other non-cash charges that the shorts like to troll you on as well. So I'm just showing you the bottom line earnings, but this contains a lot of non-cash items. So the cash position's even better than this is what you need to hear from that. So let's just look year over year, and remember, Q1 and Q2 in particular have some pretty deep strike impacts. Go back to a video I made kind of end of October, beginning of November, where I literally showed you the titles that had moved. And there were some really big titles that would have been in this quarter that have moved out. And so you can see, even with that though, year over year, I do believe Q1 is an improvement versus last year. But you can see it's still kind of a heavy loss. And that is what the shorts are going to troll you with. But remind yourself, in spite of heavy strike impacts in Q1, we have improvement year over year. Now that was because there were some one-time charges last year in this quarter that we don't have this year. So we're kind of anniversarying some expenses that we don't have. So the quarter is actually an improvement year over year. So keep that in mind. And then the other thing is remember that Adam built up the cash to survive, then thrive. So you're going to see when we get to the Q1 results, probably some cash burn. I'll do a video where I deep dive on the forecast before we do the earnings. You know, I like to do that. And we'll talk that through. But I just want to prepare you mentally and sort of emotionally. The shorts are going to really try to grab onto that number. But that is why I say this concept of the now and the not yet. By the time that number gets reported, we're going to be in May, guys. That number contains January and February, which were our toughest months because of the strike. And so you're going to be in May when we're going to be having like kind of Memorial Day weekend movies coming out, and Q2 is going to start to get a lot better. You can already see here this preliminary forecast has Q2 already like taking out half the losses of Q1 and getting that much better. And you can see then in Q4, Q3 and Q4, I'm saying we get even like all-time record profits in post-COVID. So very good things are coming. Now imagine Q3 starts in what, July maybe? Yeah, in July. So if these numbers from over at the far left are getting reported in May, and we're very nearly into living and breathing the daily real-time results of this stuff over here in Q3. But so imagine what shorts are going to do to you. They're going to like try to really focus you backwards on results that are getting reported months after the fact, when even we're already going to be in a much better place. And you're going to hear me saying that because I like to show you what's really happening. So I'm just telling you now, kind of like just open and transparent, that you're going to be hearing soon about losses in Q1 and cash burn, but that should actually point you to you have a management team who saw that coming and prepped for it. Isn't that what you want out of your management team? They see something ahead, they prepare for it, um, and they built the war chest to get us through. So they've done their job, and I've seen that coming for a long time now, and that's why I've been so positive on them, and why I even tweeted today, I trust Kansas. I do. I trust Kansas. Those guys are managing well. I'm proud of them. You know, the trolls like to say, what the heck are you proud of? Think about the 4-year storm they've managed through to even get us to have a chance of winning. I've told you before, if we had gone bankrupt, we lose our shares basically. We get nothing. They have avoided that at all costs, and they've done right by the shareholders, and so I stand by them. But what I really want you to just focus in on, I do believe, second half of the year, and Adam kind of tweeted this, right? His last tweet was he's gaining more and more confidence on the back half of the year. Well, me too. And I believe you're going to see all-time record kind of post-COVID profits. And there's wild cards too. Like, what if we get some big distribution numbers? What if popcorn expands really well? I don't know. What if we add beer and wine? Let's just see what he's got planned. But good things are coming. So that's this idea of the now and not yet. And then you can even see year over year, 3 out of the 4 quarters are actually an improvement over last year, even with the strike. Think about what a great management team you have, that the strike hit, and yet 3 out of the 4 quarters, I believe they're going to improve over last year. With Q4, just because of the timing of some movies being significantly better than last year, and the overall year getting us, 9 digits better than last year, and starting to get closer and closer to full year profits. I actually believe 2025 will be full year profits. Before the strike happened, I believed we would already hit that this year. So lots going on that's going to be really, really good. Let's just kind of review. So when Q1 is released, remember, we're going to be in May when you see those numbers, but it's going to be reviewing what's heavily impacted by January and February. Some of that's 4 and 3 months old. So just remember that when those numbers get released and the shorts try to come all over you, and you point them to what's actually happening now, today, whatever day in May that is. You're going to get trolled on those cash flows. That's kind of what I came here to say. But that was prepared for. They've built the war chest, and I just have full confidence. We've got the cash we need to get to those quarters at the end of the year. So just here's what, think through last year in Q2 and Q3. When we were in the middle of those, I was loudly saying our cash flows are positive, and then I got proven right. You're going to be able to say that then when we're in July, probably even June, let's see, because cash flows are real time, guys. But when we're in some of these months, you're going to know we're already done. We're not burning cash anymore. And so what the shorts want you to believe is, well, let's say we see this cash burn that gets published in the Q1 results. It'll be some other number. I'm not showing you a cash number here. you'll see a cash burn number, and they'll want you to just imagine a world where that just continues day in and day out at that rate. But that's not what's happening. We're steadily getting more and more movies throughout the year. We're steadily growing popcorn throughout the year. We may be adding distribution. So I just want you to understand that idea of the now and the not yet when that number gets reported. I'm preparing you for that. The third bullet, well, I guess I've already said this. We're going to be in a far better place in Q2 than Q1. And then, fourth bullet, Q3 and Q4, like I said, are even well beyond that. And we're talking like new records. Think about how good that felt in Q3 last year when we were talking about records at the box office and record profits and these kinds of things and record concession sales. And we'll be talking about record popcorn sales. So it's going to be some really good stuff coming. I can't promise that. Like I said, this is kind of almost a preliminary forecast. So let's keep digging and make sure that I get this right. And then 2025, I think we're even talking like all-time best, not just like post-COVID best, but like all-time best profit numbers ever for AMC. And don't sleep on the biggest thing, honestly, from all this, and that I think Adam's kind of hinting at, and that's been coming, we've all been talking a little bit about, is the debt maturities. If he moves out in particular that 2026 debt and he refinances it, I've said, let's say it's 2031 or something. I'm just kind of picking numbers out of the air. But the point is, if he pushes that out a couple of years and we're at like all-time record profits, it's smooth sailing to just pay that off. And I just want you to think about, like, if you've ever been a homeowner or you've bought a car, you have debt that as the bank just looks at, are you bringing in enough income to pay your bills? And if you are, then I'll work with you and be flexible on the timing of when all your debt is due, so long as you're paying your bills to me. That's what Adam's going to do. He's going to show, hey, we've got this path to profits, and even at some point record profits. We are what's called solvent. We're making money. I can pay the bills. Why don't we rearrange the timing of when the full debt is due? And all you do is just like refinancing a mortgage on your home. You actually fully pay off the existing mortgage with the new mortgage, basically. And then you have this new debt with new rates and terms and dates and all that. That's what he's going to do. He's going to refinance. I feel very strongly about that. Obviously, I cannot promise it, but it's happening. I feel very, very strongly he will refinance, and that will drop a bomb on the shorts. Because imagine he comes out and he says it's 2028 or 29 or 30 or 31 or whatever, and here's the new debt and when it's due. We have this massive, massive runway to be successful, and the shorts are just going to be hosed. And so, as always, I believe we will win. Let's go.